All right, guys. So today we're going to be talking about Alec Warren's song Ordinary. Now, this is such a cool song. It's one of my favorites at the moment. I just love how I love the lyrics. I love the theme. I love how it just gets so big, and it's just the performance and everything is just so just so much energy. I just really love this song, and I'm going to give you my kind of like my top three things that I really like about this song towards the end of the video, and just kind of dive into it. But let's dive right in and let's analyze this song. Let's figure out what they're doing in this song that makes it work. What are the secrets? What is working here, and why we love it. So let's dive right in. So the arrangement. The intro goes for 4 measures, then the verse goes for 8 measures, the pre-chorus goes for 4 measures, the chorus goes for 8, and then he does a second half of another kind of a double chorus, or it's a double length. So it's actually 16 measures for the chorus. And that just same melody really keeps it really melodic and catchy and repetitive. So that's a great hook. So he kind of doubles he does double the chorus there. So it's a really cool idea for a bigger chorus. And then the second verse comes in. Now, also one thing I noticed that the drums are only kick. There's no snare or no hats when those drums come in after the first chorus. So the second verse is just kick drum, but then it comes in halfway through that snare, the full drums come in. So it's quite interesting to listen to that. And then the pre-chorus, another pre-chorus which goes for 4. Now, one thing we're going to talk about in the instrumentation, or in the vocals, is with the pre-chorus, the second pre-chorus, he does it like a double thing. So if you're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, he's kind of doing a da-da-da. He does more lyrics. It's like double the length, and it's just even more lyrics, and just creates this more energy as it really ramps up into that second chorus, which, going back to that first chorus, was only like a real down chorus. It's real kind of quiet, or the dynamics were down, and then second half it goes big. But then there's the second chorus, it's big. Both of them are really big. So now he goes to a bridge after that second chorus. He goes to a bridge, and it's even bigger. It's 8 measures, and it's really big. And there's a line in there which is definitely one of the things I loved about this song. Now to a down chorus, which is exactly the same music, or the exact same instrument and sound as the intro and then the first verse. So that's something to take note of. That's you might see that a little bit in a lot of different songs. That's a cool little thing. So then it does the double chorus. Now there's some really cool stabs at the double chorus before the chorus comes in. So the end of the bridge. I should say at the end of the down chorus before he goes into that big chorus, there's like a dun 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 dun. It's really cool. I think that's such a cool way to kind of build up the energy going into that last chorus. And then the tag outro is really just the end of the chorus, and he hangs on the 5th chord. Now that gives you a feeling of like hanging, like, it's like a question mark almost, and it's like kind of keeps you hanging. Instead of resolving it to that first chord, it doesn't go down and complete. It kind of leaves you hanging, which is kind of cool. I always take note of these little things, and if you want to keep people hanging a little bit, end on that 5th chord. So that's a cool little trick to make. So let's dive in now to the instrumentation. There's a harp type guitar sound. I got a feeling it's a ukulele, or maybe it's a nylon string guitar with a capo on, maybe. Or there's another guitar called a guitar lele. It's just a smaller scale, and it's a smaller sound. So it's a smaller sound, and it's doing like a da-da-da-da-da-da. It's kind of like a triplet kind of feel as they're picking those sounds. So that's something to take note of. And now there's an organ that goes right through that whole verse. There's a lot of organ in this song, and it's like a kind of a churchy organ. The songs, about angels and heaven, and so bringing that church organ in, and definitely with the vocals, a very kind of church choirish kind of thing. So it definitely gives it that kind of heavenly kind of feel, or church or angels kind of feel, and so that organ is a really cool sound there. Now, one thing I did notice, which is quite interesting, like, how do you bring in that organ? Like, do you just start it, or do you fade it in? And with this one, it kind of faded in under the intro, then it was coming in. So it's a real kind of from zero, or from being completely out, it faded in, which is another thing I little noticed there. Now the piano comes in on the first pre-chorus, which, you know, just simple chords, nothing really busy. And then the drums come in on the first chorus with a reverse cymbal. So see if you can kind of hear that reverse cymbal go, you know, as it comes into that first chorus. Now the second half of the first chorus, there's maybe like a mandolin or a higher sounding picking part, similar to the intro, that plays, and you'll see that it kind of spreads out, kind of pans out, or kind of makes it a little bit more stereo, you know, opens up the stereo field, and it's a picking little part, and it's the same kind of part that before. Now, as a producer, I'm thinking it could have been the same part, and they just put a different EQ on it, made it more thinner, made it more brighter, and so that's a cool thing, an idea to kind of put, you know, to kind of stretch out and make it a little bit more, you're repeating or you're echoing what the original like little part was, but you're doubling it and kind of putting out left and right. It was a cool thing to make it even bigger. So it got bigger, you know, it got expanded out. So so then we have a little Easter egg for you. So in the second half of the bridge, the picking part actually goes a little stereo. See if you can go listen to it. Listen to the bridge, and you'll hear it kind of drops down to like a real kind of a mono, or very kind of, it's not wide, it's more narrow. And then in the second half of the bridge, it opens up a little bit, and you can kind of hear it. See if you can hear that. And then overall, there's a swing that is supported with the vocal verse rhythm. So the picking part is like da 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 da, but then the words or the lyrical phrase is like da 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 da. So they're kind of like, it's kind of like supporting the feel of it, which is a big deal. You know, you want to make sure the music is really supporting the vocals, the lyrics. You want to really make sure they are cohesive and they support each other, and not be like, this sounds like they're fighting each other. So always being cohesive, making sure that works. Second verse, 2 measures with only kick. We talked about that a little bit earlier. All right, now let's dive into vocals. So the vocals, there's less reverb in the first verse and the bridge. And that's one thing to kind of make your, you know, as a producer, to make your, or a mixing engineer, to make your songs sound bigger when you want them, and then smaller when you want them to be smaller. And so there's less reverb, so keep that in mind. That's one thing I definitely noticed. Now the breathy backing vocals and harmonies in the choruses, and the added chance to the second half of the chorus. One really cool thing that he did in this chorus, which I really like, they come straight in when the big chorus comes in. You know, you've got the harmonies and the breathy backing vocals. There's monos, there's harmonies, there's stacks of vocals. They're kind of left and right, or not hard left and right, but just kind of sitting in the you know, I don't know, 50, 60%, maybe less, somewhere around there, and it's just kind of sitting there, and then they do that, and then when they repeat that second chorus, when it goes bigger and they want to go to thing, they actually do another chant on the end of the phrase. I forget the exact word now, but it's like da 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 da, rah, you know, and everyone's coming out. There's this big chant on that extra parts, which brings it just another level of bigness, of making it sound really big. And there's an R, I should say, like an ooze or an ah, like kind of big vocal thing that comes in as well, kind of like a reverse cymbal kind of thing, as like crescendo shh, as it kind of comes in with the vocals in the chorus as well, which is kind of a cool thing. Now there's echoes in the second verse. That's another cool thing that they did. They didn't do that in the first verse, but in the second verse they did some vocal echoes of some certain words. They, you know, just reinforced it, or, you know, so when you're writing your song, think about which words you want to reinforce, or with some harmonies, or with some big sounds, or whatever you want to do there on certain words, or even if it's a phrase, whatever. But in this one, they just do it on a couple of words. There is stacks of backing vocals that have a lot more reverb. There's a lot of reverb on those backing vocals. And I love the vocal chants in the last words of the choruses. And I'm kind of like, you know, that's a bit of a repeat from what we just said. But those chants coming in just on those words is really, really cool. Yeah, I really love that. So now the lyrics and theme. The song is about life and living to the fullest, and making your life more than just ordinary. You know, the angels the angels are jealous for what we have found. You know, the song could actually be called Not Very Ordinary, or Not Ordinary at All. You know, it's very special. But it's a different way to kind of say, instead of saying our life is awesome, or we're doing great, or, you know, things are great with you, or whatever you want to say, they're saying kind of the opposite, just saying ordinary, but it's not, they're not talking about ordinary at all. So it's kind of a little twist on the song title there, which is a cool idea, great idea, and something to think about. So then my top takeaways for this song is the double chorus. There's really cool stabs on the double chorus when it comes in. We talked about that in the arrangement when after the down chorus, it does a dun 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 dun, and it just goes straight into that big chorus. I really like that. And so instead of just coming straight in, they did like a walk up. That's a really cool idea. I thought that was really nice. So then the second one is the words, the lyrics in the bridge. I think there's a great lyrics. So it says, "World was black and white until I saw your light. I thought you had to die to find." And so, the image of, dying, and, you see the light, or they say head towards the light or whatever. So, or don't head towards the light, come back, So the idea of that he thought you had to die to find that light. The world was black and white until I saw your light. And so, I thought you had to die. I thought it was a great lyric. I thought that was just such a great lyric. And the last one, number 3, is the double words in the second pre-chorus. So in the pre-chorus, we talked about this a little earlier, but the first pre-chorus was just, I think it was like maybe 4 lines, or maybe, I think it was 4 lines. And then the second pre-chorus, it was double that. It was 8 lines. So we've got a lot more words and he's saying a lot more stuff. He's kind of doubled it. So he just doubled the speed of it, not the length. So the measures were still the same, but just lots of lyrics. So check that out when you listen to it. So yeah, but anyway, guys, so that's my hot takeaway. That's a great song. Listened to it many times, and I think it actually got its, well, for me, it got its start on TikTok, I think, or on social media. Maybe it was on Instagram, or when I first heard it, and I'm like, that's a cool song, and someone was surfing or something. That I always watch that. So that, and the music was, I don't know, maybe they were doing something crazy, sky jumping or something, I don't know. But yeah, great song, and now it's number 2 this week. So it's been there for a long time actually. So it's a big song, and it's not going anywhere. It's always going to be hanging around, and it's really, really a cool song. It's really well written. And we all want that, we want a more than ordinary life. We don't want to be ordinary. We want to be special. We want to be, so the lyric and the theme really resonates. And such a great song, such a really, really great song. So awesome, guys. So go ahead now and write your kind of idea inspired from this, of your, maybe there's a few parts here that I talked about and you're like, I want to try that in my next song. Do it. Go ahead and write it now. As soon as you watch this, use those ideas, because the more times you use those ideas, they become part of you, and this is your ideas, these are your sounds, these are the things that you use, and none of this is new, none of this is, all these ideas have been done a million times, but maybe not in this flavor, and maybe not in the way they said it. And so write your song. I encourage all my students always to go and do it. Write your song, do your thing, do another thing. Every single time you sit down and write, you just get that little bit better, and you don't know when the stars align, and you write something more than ordinary. So I don't know if you kind of caught that punt there, but sorry, but not sorry. But last thing I'll say, if this has been helpful to you, like or subscribe, and also head over to my email list over at stevecollum.com, and you can you can find out whenever I'm doing like free workshops, and sometimes I'll do listening sessions and different things that help my students out, that help you out. Maybe you want to write that next song, maybe you have a next song and you want me to listen to it, and maybe I can put you in contact with the right people. Get on my email list, head over there. I love helping people out, and I've gotten my students so much success already. So head over there, and again, I will see you in the next one.